The retirement ceremony at Nellis Air Force Base was winding down when Admiral Richard Hartwell spotted Marcus Chen pushing a mop bucket across the hangar floor. The 72-year-old janitor had been part of the base's fabric for decades, his weathered hands and quiet demeanor as familiar as the roar of jet engines overhead. What most people didn't know was that Marcus had once been something more. "Hey Chen," the Admiral called out, his voice carrying across the polished concrete. The crowd of pilots and officers turned to watch. "How about you take that A-10 Thunderbolt for a spin? Send me off in style." Laughter rippled through the gathering. Everyone knew the Admiral's reputation for harmless pranks during his final days of service. Marcus stopped pushing his bucket, his dark eyes meeting the Admiral's with an expression that was impossible to read. The joke hung in the air, comfortable and predictable, until Marcus spoke. "Yes, sir," he said quietly. "I'd be honored." The laughter died. Admiral Hartwell's smile faltered. This wasn't how the script was supposed to go. He'd expected Marcus to chuckle and wave him off, maybe make a self-deprecating joke. Instead, the janitor was already walking toward the A-10 Warthog parked on the tarmac, its massive GAU-8 Avenger cannon jutting from its nose like a statement of purpose. "Wait, the Admiral began, but something in Marcus's stride stopped him. It wasn't the shuffle of an old custodian. It was the walk of a man approaching something he understood. Colonel Sarah Mendez stepped forward, her face concerned. "Sir, we should stop this before." "No," Admiral Hartwell said, raising his hand. Something was happening here, something that felt bigger than a joke gone awry. "Let's see where this goes." Marcus reached the aircraft and began his Preflight inspection with movements so precise, so practiced, that several pilots exchanged glances. His hands traced the control surfaces with the familiarity of muscle memory. He checked the landing gear, examined the engines, and performed a walk-around that belonged in a training manual. "Who is that guy?" a young lieutenant whispered. Nobody answered because nobody really knew. Marcus climbed into the cockpit with an ease that defied his age. The crowd had grown silent, drawn from inside the hangar by the strange tension crackling through the desert air. Admiral Hartwell felt his chest tighten with a feeling he couldn't name, part curiosity, part something deeper. The engines spooled up with their distinctive whine, and the A-10 began to taxi. Tower control crackled over the radio, confused, asking for identification. Admiral Hartwell grabbed the radio from Colonel Mendez. "Tower, this is Admiral Hartwell. You are cleared to let that aircraft proceed. I'll take full responsibility, sir." "We don't even know if that's in order." The A-10 positioned itself at the end of the runway. Through binoculars, Admiral Hartwell could see Marcus's profile in the cockpit, and for just a moment, the years seemed to fall away from the old man's face. Then the Thunderbolt began its takeoff roll. What happened next would be discussed in ready rooms for years to come. Marcus didn't just fly the A-10, he danced with it. The aircraft climbed, banked, and performed maneuvers that made experienced pilots shake their heads in disbelief. A barrel roll, a split, moves that showcased not just competence but artistry, the kind that comes from thousands of hours in the cockpit. When Marcus finally landed 20 minutes later, touching down with the gentleness of placing a sleeping child in a crib, the entire base had gathered to watch. He taxied back to his original position, shut down the engines and climbed out with the same quiet dignity he'd shown pushing his mop bucket. Admiral Hartwell was waiting at the bottom of the ladder, his eyes bright. "Who are you?" he asked, but it was a formality. He already knew the answer was written in every movement, every impossible maneuver. Marcus looked at him with eyes that had seen things the Admiral could only imagine. "Captain Marcus Chen, sir, United States Air Force, retired. Why didn't you ever say anything?" "Because that was then, sir. This is now. I made my peace with it." But the Admiral hadn't made his peace. He learned later that Marcus had flown A-10s in the Gulf War, had been shot down and spent 2 years as a prisoner of war. After his release, the nightmares were too much. He'd requested discharge, taken a simple job, found quiet redemption in honest work. The Admiral changed his retirement orders that day. His final act was recommending Marcus for a delayed Bronze Star that had been lost in bureaucracy decades ago. At the ceremony 2 weeks later, as the medal was pinned to Marcus's chest, the old janitor stood straight, and for just a moment, he was flying again.